Well, hello again everybody. Well, a few weeks ago I was indulging in one of my favourite dangerous sports, which is mixing red wine with eBay purchasing. And I saw this logic analyzer, which is a Hewlett Packard 1652B logic analyzer. And it was for sale from an equipment seller in Poland. And it wasn't very much money. And it was described as having 5 pods with it damaged. So I bought this piece of equipment and it arrived without any pods, and I had a big argument with the eBay seller who said, sorry for our mistake, it doesn't have any pods with it, kind of tough luck. So that wasn't very good. So of course I was still wanting a logic analyzer or another logic analyzer, so I bought another one. Here's the second logic analyzer, which is another 1652B, and this came all the way from the United States. Now I bought this one again for 2 reasons, because it wasn't very much money, but more importantly it came with all the discs, all the pod cables, the pods and some grabbers and all the little extra things. So let's switch that on and have a look. So the first thing that these logic analyzers do when you turn them on is they do a little self-diagnostics test. So here it's telling me the ROM has passed its test, the RAM has passed, interrupt test, display test, keyboard test, acquisition test, threshold test, disk test, and now it's wanting to load its system files, because basically the firmware that's actually built into these analyzers is just enough to do the self-test. It doesn't do any more than that, very annoyingly. So what you actually need to make them go further is a boot disk. Now this is a copy of the boot disk that came with the equipment, so we'll pop that in and give it a go. So just while that's booting, I'll just explain some of the features of these. In fact, well, the feature which I'm really quite interested in is the fact that they actually have an oscilloscope on the 1652B. I don't think it's particularly high spec oscilloscope. I think it might be about, I don't know, 100 megahertz, and I think they have a 500 meg sample rate on them. Okay, so the first thing it does, it boots up into this system configuration menu, and I've got to admit what I was expecting to see on the screen and what the manual shows me is I should see the analyzer here, Analyser 2, but what I'm actually expecting to hear is to see the settings for the oscilloscope, and I'm not seeing that. Now just for giggles, let's boot up the first analyzer I bought from Poland. So we'll put the system disk in and switch it on at the back. If I can find the switch, where are you? There you are. So it's going to do the same thing. It's going to do its little self-test, and then it's going to start loading the software from the system disk there. So it's loading the files now. The disk drive's whirring away. Whir. Not the fastest machines in the world. Okay, so we've got, again, Analyzer 1, Analyzer 2, but the oscilloscope is missing. So where's the missing oscilloscope? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Now, the way that I believe these analyzers work is that they actually boot up off the system disk, so they won't do anything without the system disk. So let's just have a look at what was on the disk. So I think we select I/O, we've got to disk operations there, press select again. And these are the files that are contained on my disk. So what's come on the disk, it's got something called a DRAM test, which is, it says config. Well, I think that's actually a setup file for once the equipment's up and running, you can kind of personalise it with your own settings. And they do it with what they call the config file. So there's something called a DRAM test there. Then it's got this mixed demo test, another config. And the next thing is we've got a file here called PV test. And it says PV test 1650/1 system HP1652B/51/54 self-test version 02.06. Well, I think that PV test file, basically I think that's the software which actually tests the internal functioning of the analyzer when you do a self-test on it. And as far as I know, that works properly, because I've done a self-test on this analyzer and it works. and I've done a self-test on the other analyzer next to it, and that appears to work as well. But the files that I'm mainly interested in is this system file here. So I've got a file here called system underscore, and again the description is 1650 1 underscore system HP1652B SPA system, and this is version 2.07. So what I'm trying to say in my very long and winded way is that the machine, the 1650 machine, is a different machine than the 1652B, which is what we've got here. Now, interestingly, the 1650 machine doesn't have an oscilloscope built into it, so I think that the system disk that was supplied with this machine could be the wrong one. I think I've got a system disk for a machine that doesn't have the oscilloscope. I think I've got a system disk for a 1650, not a 1652. Although, having said that, if you look at the second part of the file name here, it says HP1652XB, and I'm guessing the X should mean any number. Now, of course, it would be quite possible that one of these machines has got a bad oscilloscope on it and wouldn't function, but I think it's more unlikely that the two of them that I've got here both have non-functioning oscilloscopes. So it's either something I'm doing wrong, or it's something wrong with this configuration disk that I've got. Now, these are the two discs that I actually got with the analyzer, and I'll take some still pictures of these to show them a bit more clearly. But it says that the double-sided format discs, it's a systems performance analysis disc. It's for the 1650XB and I'll say that again. It's for the 165XB and 165XA plus logic analyzers. It's got a number under it which is 10390 13504, serial number 2207, version 02.02, 1990 for Hewlett-Packard software products. So the second disc that came with it again says double-sided format, system performance analysis software for the HP 1650 and HP 1651. Revision 2841, version 01.06, serial number 2207. And again, I'll show you a still of them. Now, this disc here appears to be from a completely different machine in that it just references the 1650 and the 1651. Both those machines are without, as I understand it, the oscilloscope function. And in fact, this disc actually doesn't even function. And I'll put that in and just show you what it does. And it doesn't appear to like that one very much. It says fatal error, please report these numbers, which is 0010, and then I think it's 0000006E2000. Fatal error, please report these numbers. Well, I'm guessing here the reason it's having a bit of a dicky fit here is because maybe this disc doesn't even belong to the analyzer. So I'll put the original disc back in and we'll have another go. God, the anticipation. Okay, there we go again, and yep, the oscilloscope is obviously distinctive by its complete absence. Normally when I run into a problem like this, the first thing that I do is actually have a bit of a Google around, and then the next thing I do is always go to the EV blog website, because that's an absolutely fantastic forum for all things test equipment related. There's lots of clever people there with experience of this type of kit. But unfortunately, so far I've drawn a blank. These machines use a special kind of, I don't know, it's a proprietary format to HP, but I think they call it LIFT format or something like that. So what I can do is I can probably download all the correct files from, well, I've got a link to, I don't know if it's a HP website, but basically I don't have any problems downloading the files for this machine. The problem is I don't have a computer that's capable of writing this LIFT format or even formatting the disks. Well, that's not quite true. I can actually use the analyzer to format the disk, but if I download the files onto my, onto my PC, it doesn't have a disk drive, and even if it did have a disk drive, it wouldn't be the right type. and the utility that you get from Hewlett Packard won't run on a modern computer anyway. So I'm having problems. So really what I'm looking for is, has somebody out there got a 1652B logic analyzer? And please, if you have, could you get in contact so that I could have a copy of your system startup disk? Because I'm just speculating that the reason we're not getting an oscilloscope shown here, we're not loading the correct software onto the machine. Let me just show you a picture of what I was actually expecting. Now, I'm sorry if it's all a bit blurred, but again, I'm seeing Analyser 1, Analyser 2, but I'm expecting to see the oscilloscope here on the screen, and I'm just not getting that oscilloscope. And I think the reason I'm not getting it is because because I'm loading it with the wrong system files. The wrong system files have been supplied with the machine. Maybe there's another reason. If you know why it's not working, and there's another reason, maybe it's just me that's stupid. That's true as well. So if you know of another reason why I'm not getting the oscilloscope up, again, please give me a shout. Well, obviously not satisfied with all the pain that the 1652Bs are giving me, I needed to pile on the agony because I am somewhat of a test equipment masochist. So here we'll see an example of a 16500A logic analyzer. Well, I'm not going to talk much about this one today, but just to say it does share the same annoying habits as the 1652B, which is if you don't have setup disks in it, it does absolutely nothing. You need to load the system files from disks. In that it's even more annoying because it has a disk drive on the front and one on the back. And again, it does run this rather bizarre HP format. On the plus side though, it does have some quite good disk utilities for formatting disks, and it also means you can easily duplicate disks because you can copy a front disk to the back disk. So if I do manage to get a system disk for the other analyzers, I really won't have any trouble copying them because I can actually use this unit. Now, I think I was talking to a few people on the EV blog before I bought this unit, and of course the first thing that everybody said is, why don't you buy the 16500A? It's a much better machine and it's less painful, it's got an internal hard drive and it runs DOS. So of course I always take good advice when it's offered, so I did go and buy one of those machines. Now I've got to admit, I didn't pay very much money for this. I actually paid the grand total of $30 for this machine, and in the pictures it was shown fully working, but unfortunately, again, I'm going to have to put a complaint in against the guy who sold it me, because they shipped it all the way from America in effectively just a cardboard box with no padding around it. So it's clearly been thrown around because that's what couriers do. They don't take any care with equipment. The heavier it is, the further they throw it and the worse they mistreat it. So I think there's something wrong with this. I will switch it on. It just makes a horrible squealing noise, which sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like that horrible noise you get from line output transformers when the HT is being severely overloaded. I can't see any damage to the tube, but I'm actually suspecting what might be happening is that the tube is smashed inside. I can't see any damage, but I think maybe the tube's been necked somewhere. I'm only having a look at it for the first time now, but I'm going to switch it on very briefly. But there's something seriously amiss with this unit, which is you know, really disappointed, because it was a working unit when the eBay seller dispatched it. And I do blame the seller, because if they'd taken a little bit of care and put some bubble wrap around it, it probably would have survived. But it certainly isn't going to survive a trip between the USA and Sheffield just put in a cardboard box. And it's a shame, because they've just ruined what was obviously a working machine. So I'm going to try and poke the camera roughly in the direction of all the horrible noises. And I'm not going to keep it switched on for very long, because I think it's about to explode. And I'm also going to try to point the camera towards the back of the unit, because I think that I could see or hear something happening down there. But again, not exactly sure. Yeah, I think whatever horribleness is taking place, it's taking place towards the back of the unit. And I'm wondering if the tube could have been necked or something. I think this is going to be the high voltage line output transformer, and I'm assuming that this is a tripler unit here. I don't really know anything about TVs, so yeah, all I know is that there's some nasty high voltages on here and I need to be a bit careful. But what I will do is I'm just going to put my microphone near it, because I'm just going to switch it on for a second and hopefully you can hear what I can hear. I'm just going to switch it on for a moment, be prepared for a bang. Let's just check that that's not doing anything. Okay. Okay, I was saying that when it was making that horrible noise, there was a red LED pulsing with that horrible noise, and I actually think that maybe that was that red light is probably maybe an overload light for the switch mode power supply that lives under here. And as I say, I could smell something and I could see something. I could see something happening down here. I don't know if it was arcing or something like that, but I think there was something amiss in here somewhere. Now, what the actual seller did is he took the fan unit off the back of it, and there's a bit of a cavity at the back of the machine here. So just to make the machine a bit shorter, he took the fan off the back of the unit and he just stuffed it inside. And of course, as well as being badly packed, as it was bouncing around from here to from America to here, that fan unit, metal fan, has been bouncing around inside here, doing God knows what's damaged as well. So yeah, I'm sorry if you're the eBay seller, but you're just stupid. Even if I did pay $40 for it, you could have taken a bit of care because there was $100 shipping on it. I think the next step for you is try to find out where the CRT module is plugged in, because it looks as though it's kind of a modular arrangement. So I'm suspecting the best thing to do is probably to take out the CRT unit and then switch the unit on again. And I'm assuming if it's something wrong with this, which is dragging the power supply rails down, it's going to boot without a display. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if I'll be able to tell if it's working without a display connected. I'm kind of hoping there's a speaker or a bleeper or something like that. But yeah, I think that whatever's wrong in here, it's pulling down the power supply. So what we'll do is pretty soon we'll disconnect all the CRT unit. We'll take it out, at least see if I can find the power connectors. We'll take it out and we'll power it up again and see if we've still got the overload problem. Now, it is of course possible that the problem's actually with the switch mode, which is under this other cover here. It could be a problem with this power supply board here, but I don't know that this. The noise, the horrible noise, is coming from in here, and I'm sure I could see something glowing or smoking, or yeah, it just has a bit of an odd smell about it, which is coming from this section. Okay, I think until next time, what a disaster. That'll do. Thanks very much. Bye for now.